My fiancé said, I sold your collectibles on eBay. They were just gathering dust, made $8,000 though. My comic collection worth $250,000. I replied, thanks for the initiative. Then I had my attorney send her a demand letter. When she realized she'd sold a CGC 9.8 Amazing Fantasy number 15 for $200. Original post: I, 30, came home from a business trip last Tuesday to find my fiancée Madison, 35, beaming with pride. We'd been together 3 years, engaged for 6 months, living in my house for the past year. Babe, I have the best surprise, she said, waving her phone. Remember how you were stressed about the wedding costs? Well, I took initiative. My stomach dropped. Madison's initiatives usually meant she'd volunteered me for something or reorganized my life without asking. What did you do? I sold all those dusty comics in the basement. Made $8,000. We can use it for the honeymoon upgrade. The room tilted. Those weren't just comics. That was my collection. 25 years of collecting, trading, hunting conventions, carefully stored in climate-controlled sleeves organized by publisher and grade. You sold my comics? Don't look so shocked. They were just sitting there gathering dust. You never even look at them anymore. I forced myself to stay calm. Madison, which comics exactly did you sell? She shrugged. All of them? The boxes in the basement storage room, listed them on eBay as a bulk lot. Some dealer bought everything for $8,000, already shipped them yesterday. My legs felt weak. In those boxes? My graded Amazing Fantasy 15. My complete run of early Amazing Spider-Man. My Neil Adams Batman collection. Conservative estimate? $250,000. Maybe more. Madison, I said very carefully, did you see any comics in hard plastic cases with grades on them? Oh, those thick plastic things? Yeah, a bunch of those. Why? I pulled out my phone, opened my collection spreadsheet. This comic, Amazing Fantasy number 15, CGC 9.8, you sold it? If it was in the basement, yes. Why are you being weird about this? That single comic is worth about $80,000. Her face went white. That's ridiculous. It's just a comic book. It's the first appearance of Spider-Man in near mid-condition, and you sold it, plus everything else, for $8,000. Well, I didn't know. You should have told me they were valuable. They were in my house, in my storage room, clearly organized and preserved. You had no right to touch them, let alone sell them. She got defensive. I was trying to help. You're always complaining about money. I complain about your spending. There's a difference. Fine, we'll get them back. You said you already shipped them. Then it's just a mistake. The buyer will understand. I laughed. Actually laughed. Madison, you just sold a $250,000 collection for $8,000. That buyer is probably halfway to retirement now. I walked to my office, locked the door, and called my attorney. Update 1. 2 days later, Madison spent the first day in denial, then panic, then anger. The emotional roller coaster was something to behold. First, she tried to cancel the sale, called eBay, called PayPal, even tried calling the buyer directly. No dice. The sale was completed, items delivered, and signed for. The buyer, username Vintage Goldmine 54, had already left glowing feedback. Amazing haul. Seller had no idea what they had, thanks. That comment made Madison flip out. He knew he was ripping us off. No, Madison, you ripped me off. He just got lucky. My attorney Harrison had reviewed everything. The case was solid. Madison had committed conversion, essentially theft through unauthorized sale of property. The evidence was overwhelming. Her eBay account, her messages to the buyer, her PayPal receiving the funds. Harrison sent the demand letter Thursday morning. It demanded 1. Immediate return of all sold items, or 2. Payment of $247,000, the documented value minus the $8,000 she received. 3. Coverage of all legal fees. Madison got served at her job, marketing manager at a tech startup. She called me screaming, "You sent lawyers to my work? You sold my property worth $250,000 without permission. What did you expect, a thank you card? I'm your fiancé. We're getting married. This should be ours anyway. We're getting married, past tense. And no, premarital assets don't work that way. You're seriously ending our relationship over comic books? I'm ending it over you stealing from me and showing zero remorse." She hung up and immediately went nuclear on social media. Can't believe I wasted 3 years on a man-child who cares more about comic books than his future wife. I try to help with wedding costs and this is the thanks I get. Her friends piled on. My phone started blowing up with messages about how I was emotionally abusive for valuing toys over love. Then Madison made her second biggest mistake. After selling my collection, she texted me, "Drop the lawsuit or I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are." I screenshot that immediately. Harrison was delighted. Extortion attempt. This keeps getting better. But the real kicker came that evening. Madison had been doing research and finally understood what she'd sold. She found recent sale prices for Amazing Fantasy number 15 in 9.8 condition. Found out about my early Spider-Man runs. Discovered what those Neil Adams Batman issues were worth. She called me crying, not apologizing, crying about her money. We could have sold them properly. We could have had hundreds of thousands. There's no we here, Madison. Those were mine. I was going to be your wife. That makes them mine too. That's not how any of this works. I'll fight this. I'll tell everyone you're hiding assets. I'll say you abused me. Madison, everything is documented, including what you just said since I'm recording this call legally. She hung up. Update 2. 1 week later. Madison's entitlement reached new heights this week. Instead of trying to make things right, she doubled down on being the victim. First, she tried to claim the comics were a gift to her. Posted on Facebook that I'd promised her she could sell them for wedding funds. Problem is, I had text messages from a month ago where she asked if she could sell some of your old stuff. And I specifically said, don't touch anything in the basement storage. When that didn't work, she tried the financial abuse angle. Claimed I was controlling and financially manipulative throughout our relationship. Her evidence? I wouldn't add her to my bank accounts or the house deed. Normal boundaries when you're not married yet. Her friends ate it up. Her best friend Jessica even started a post about financial abuse in relationships with Madison as the poster child. The comments were wild, calling me everything from a narcissist to an abuser. Meanwhile, Harrison had been busy. We'd found the buyer through eBay. The guy, Randy, was actually sympathetic once he learned the situation. He's a longtime collector and knew exactly what he'd bought. But sympathy doesn't mean he's giving them back. Look, man, Randy told me on the phone, I feel bad, but I bought these fair and square. She listed them. I bought them. Not my fault she didn't know what she had. I'm not blaming you, but those comics are stolen property. According to who? I have a receipt from eBay. Legal sale as far as I'm concerned. He was right, technically. But Harrison had another angle. We sued both Madison and Randy. Randy for receiving stolen property, even though he didn't know, which would at least freeze the collection until court. Madison for conversion, fraud, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Madison lost it when Randy got served. He called her screaming about how she dragged him into legal trouble. She tried to throw me under the bus, telling Randy I was a psycho ex who was bitter about the breakup. Randy's response? He forwarded me everything. Her messages admitting she was selling them behind my back. Her asking him to lie about the value. Her begging him not to cooperate with any legal proceedings. Then came Madison's masterstroke of stupidity. She hired a lawyer. Not a good one, some ambulance chaser named Gregory, who took her case for a $2,000 retainer she could barely afford. Gregory immediately sent a cease and desist letter that was hilarious in its incompetence. It claimed, the comics were marital property. We weren't married. I had abandoned them by storing them in my own house. Madison had verbal permission to sell them, provably false. The lawsuit was harassment. It's literally a property dispute. Harrison's response was beautiful. 3 pages systematically destroying every claim with citations. The last paragraph essentially said, your client confessed to theft in writing. Please advise her to return the property or prepare for criminal charges. That's when Madison panicked. She called me at 2 a.m., drunk, sobbing. Please just drop this, I'll do anything. Return my collection. I can't. Randy won't sell them back. I tried. Then pay me their value. With what money? I don't have that. Then we go to court. You're destroying my life over things, paper and ink. You destroyed our relationship over $8,000 you had no right to touch. I'll kill myself if you don't stop this. I hung up and called 911 for a wellness check. The police found her drunk but fine. She was furious I'd called them, texting me that I was trying to make her look crazy. Update 3 weeks later. The legal steamroller picked up speed, and Madison's entitlement collided head-on with reality. First, Randy cracked. His own lawyer told him that holding on to stolen property, even if purchased unknowingly, was risky. He agreed to a settlement. He'd return the most valuable comics, about $180,000 worth, and keep the rest. In exchange, we'd drop the suit against him. Madison was thrilled for exactly 5 seconds until she realized this meant I'd have proof of value for the criminal case. Oh yeah, I filed criminal charges. The detective assigned to the case, Detective Morrison, was actually a collector himself. He understood immediately what had happened. So she sold your entire collection without permission? While I was on a business trip, yes. And these receipts show the value? CGC grading certificates, recent auction prices, insurance appraisal from last year. This is grand larceny. You understand that, right? Your fiancé committed a felony. Madison was arrested at work the following Monday. Her marketing startup was not happy about the optics. She was encouraged to resign by Wednesday. The mugshot was rough. Mascara running, hair a mess. Someone leaked it to social media. Wasn't me, though I have my suspicions about Randy, who was pretty pissed about being dragged into this. Her lawyer Gregory dropped her immediately when she couldn't pay more than the initial retainer. She had to get a public defender. But Madison wasn't done being entitled. She started a blog, SurvivingSamuelTheNarcissist.com. Yeah, she used my middle name thinking she was clever. Daily posts about emotional abuse, financial manipulation, and how the legal system favors men with money. Some highlights. He treated those comics better than he treated me. I did. They held their value. A real man would have forgiven this mistake. A $250,000 mistake. He's using his privilege to destroy me, the privilege of owning things. The blog backfired spectacularly when Randy found it and posted his side. She knew exactly what she was doing. She asked me to pay through PayPal friends and family to avoid taxes. She asked me not to mention individual comic values and feedback. This wasn't a mistake. Her own friends started distancing themselves. Jessica deleted her financial abuse post. Madison's sister called me to apologize and ask if there was any way to make this go away. Sure, I said. She can pay me what she stole. She doesn't have that kind of money. Then she should have thought of that before selling things that weren't hers. The preliminary hearing was yesterday. Madison showed up in a suit that was way too expensive for someone claiming poverty. Turned out she'd maxed out a credit card for it. She tried to look pitiful, but the judge wasn't buying it. The evidence was damning. Her eBay listing admitting she was selling boyfriend's collection while he's away. Text to friends bragging about teaching him a lesson about ignoring me. Messages to Randy trying to cover up the real value. The threatening text trying to blackmail me into dropping charges. The judge set a trial date and denied her request to dismiss. Also issued a restraining order after the suicide threat and harassment. Madison collapsed in court. Full dramatic breakdown. Had to be helped out by bailiffs while screaming that I was ruining her life over nothing. Her public defender pulled me aside after. Look, she's going to lose. Badly. If you're willing to deal, now's the time. What's she offering? She'll sign over her car, her jewelry, basically everything she owns. Total value maybe $30,000. My collection was worth $250,000. I know, but that's all she has. Then she goes to jail. The defender sighed. Fair enough. Update 4. 2 months later. The trial was last week. Madison continued her entitled meltdown right to the bitter end. She showed up to court every day in increasingly expensive outfits, borrowed from friends, racking up more credit card debt, who knows. The jury was not impressed by her struggling victim act when she was wearing designer shoes. Her defense was basically, we were getting married, so his stuff was my stuff. The prosecutor's response. Were you married? We were engaged. That's a no. Did you have permission to sell his property? He never said I couldn't. Do you have permission to sell things you don't own? He was controlling about money. I needed to contribute to our wedding. The prosecutor then showed the court her Instagram from 2 weeks before the sale. Pictures of a $3,000 handbag she'd bought. Caption: sometimes you have to treat yourself. Seems like you had money for what you wanted, the prosecutor noted. Madison tried to claim I was abusive, controlling, manipulative, but she had no evidence. Meanwhile, I had 3 years of texts showing a normal relationship until she decided to commit a felony. The most damaging testimony came from Randy. He'd agreed to testify in exchange for immunity, and boy did he deliver. She contacted me privately before the auction ended, said if I won, she'd throw in extra comics that weren't listed, said her boyfriend was, quote, an obsessive nerd who deserved this. Did she indicate she knew the value? She said she'd Googled some of them but didn't care because, quote, money isn't everything, but teaching him a lesson is. Madison's face was priceless. She'd forgotten those messages existed. Her blog came back to haunt her too. The prosecutor read excerpts where she'd basically admitted to everything while trying to paint herself as a victim. The verdict, guilty of grand larceny in the 2nd degree. The sentencing was yesterday. Madison's mother, Diane, showed up to plead for mercy. Claimed Madison was a good girl who made a mistake and that I was vengeful for not dropping charges. Your Honor, I said during my victim impact statement, this wasn't a mistake. It was calculated theft from someone she claimed to love. She's shown zero remorse, only anger that she got caught. She's tried to destroy my reputation, threatened me, and played victim at every turn. She sold 25 years of collecting, memories from my late father who got me into comics, pieces of my childhood. Not because she needed money, but to hurt me. All because I asked her to stop spending so much on luxury items. Madison's statement was, something. I'm sorry Samuel feels hurt. I was just trying to contribute to our life together. If he'd been more open about finances, none of this would have happened. I've lost everything. My job, my reputation, my home, my future. Isn't that punishment enough? The judge's response, Ms. Thompson, you've shown no accountability. You've blamed everyone but yourself. You stole $250,000 in property and sold it for a fraction of its value out of spite. This court sentences you to 2 to 4 years in state prison, plus restitution of $240,000 to be paid upon release. Madison fainted, actually fainted. Her mother screamed that this was injustice. Her friends, the few left, cried. Madison had to be revived and taken into custody, still semi-conscious. Final update. 6 months later, Madison served 3 months before being released on probation. Overcrowding, good behavior, first offense. She emerged a different person. Not better, just different. Angry, turned to bitter, turned to something else entirely. She immediately started a GoFundMe, help me rebuild after wrongful imprisonment. It raised $500, mostly from her mom. She tried to become a social media influencer, making TikToks about surviving a narcissist and when collecting becomes hoarding. They got maybe a few hundred views each. Turns out people don't really sympathize with someone who stole and sold their partner's valuable collection out of spite. The restitution is a joke. She's supposed to pay me $500 a month for the next 40 years. She's made exactly one payment, and that was only because her probation officer threatened to violate her. She works at a call center now, lives with her mother, still posts passive-aggressive memes about toxic collector culture. And when men value objects over people. I recovered about 60% of my collection from Randy. The Amazing Fantasy Norm 15, thankfully, was one of them. Some of the sentimental pieces, the comics my dad gave me, are gone forever, sold to other collectors Randy had already flipped them to. The financial hit was significant, but not devastating. Insurance covered some of it. The returned comics actually appreciated in value during all this drama. Funny how felony theft creates good documentation for insurance purposes. I sold the house. Too many memories, and honestly, I needed a fresh start. Found a nice condo with a proper climate-controlled room for the collection. Better security too. Biometric locks, cameras, the works. Dating has been interesting. So what happened with your last relationship? Is a fun conversation starter when the answer involves grand larceny and prison time. But I found someone. Her name's Grace, she's an accountant, and she actually collects vintage manga. She thinks the whole story is insane, but understands why I press charges. Anyone who doesn't respect your possessions doesn't respect you, she said on our 3rd date. Might be a keeper. Madison still emails occasionally from different addresses since I keep blocking them. Always the same theme. I ruined her life, I'm heartless, I chose things over people. Never once has she actually apologized or acknowledged what she did was wrong. Her latest email sent last week, I hope you're happy. You got your comics back and destroyed my life. Was it worth it? I didn't reply, but the answer is yes. Not because I'm vindictive, but because she showed me who she really was. Someone who would destroy what I loved to hurt me, then play victim when faced with consequences. The comics? They're just things, sure, but they're my things. And the right to have your property respected, to not have your possessions stolen and sold by someone you trust, that's worth fighting for. Madison thought she was teaching me a lesson about priorities. She did, just not the way she intended. She taught me that when someone shows you they're entitled enough to steal from you and feel justified about it, believe them the first time. Oh, and that amazing fantasy number 15? Had it reappraised last month. It's now worth $95,000. Madison, if you're reading this from your mom's basement while working your call center job, that's $95,000 for one comic you sold for maybe $200. Hope the lesson was worth it.